What if the biggest battle in the World Cup final isn't Messi versus Spain, but one midfielder almost nobody can afford to lose? Everyone is talking about Lionel Messi. Everyone is talking about Spain's unbeaten run. But the deeper I looked into this matchup, the more convinced I became that the entire World Cup final may revolve around one name that isn't grabbing all the headlines. Rodri. Forget the highlight reels for a second. Forget the dazzling dribbles and spectacular goals. This final could be decided by something much less glamorous but infinitely more important. Control, tempo, space. The player who dictates those three elements often dictates everything else. Spain have conceded just one goal across 7 matches. That statistic sounds impressive on its own, but it barely tells the real story. Their defensive success isn't built on desperate last-ditch tackles or parking the bus inside their own penalty area. It's built on preventing danger before it even exists. That's what makes this version of Spain so fascinating. Most teams defend with defenders. Spain defend with everyone. The moment possession is lost, the pressure begins instantly. Passing lanes disappear. Angles close. Options vanish. Before an opponent even realizes what's happening, they're already trapped inside a shrinking cage of red shirts. Watching it unfold almost feels unfair. Against France, one of the tournament's most dangerous attacking teams, Spain didn't simply survive. They suffocated them. Kylian Mbappe, who had been one of the competition's most productive forwards, found himself isolated with almost no clean opportunities to attack. Creative midfielders struggled to receive the ball facing forward. Every comfortable touch became a luxury. That's the first misconception this final creates. People think Spain win because they dominate possession. I think they dominate possession because their defensive structure forces opponents into mistakes long before any attack can develop. That difference changes everything. And sitting at the center of that entire machine is Rodri. Some players collect passes. Rodri collects control. He rarely looks rushed. He rarely forces impossible balls. He rarely plays the spectacular option when the simple one slowly suffocates an opponent even more effectively. There are midfielders who accelerate games. Rodri decides whether a game deserves acceleration at all. That's an entirely different skill. Watching him feels strangely uneventful until you suddenly realize 20 minutes have passed, and the opposing midfield hasn't imposed itself even once. That's elite football hidden in plain sight. Spain's manager publicly declared that his team possesses the best midfield in the world. At first, that sounds like typical pre-match confidence. But then you examine the personnel. Rodri anchors everything. Fabian Ruiz provides relentless movement, constantly offering passing angles while covering enormous distances without appearing exhausted. Pedri turns impossible spaces into passing lanes that seem invisible until the ball somehow arrives exactly where it should. Add Dani Olmo's creativity, Mikel Merino's physical presence, and the tactical flexibility surrounding them, and suddenly Spain don't just have talented midfielders, they have overlapping solutions. That's a dangerous distinction. If Rodri is pressured, Fabian adjusts. If Fabian is closed down, Pedri changes the angle. If Pedri disappears between defensive lines, another midfielder rotates into space almost instantly. The system rarely depends on one action because every player already anticipates the next one. That's why Spain feels so difficult to disrupt. Now comes the uncomfortable question. Can Argentina actually break that structure? Many people automatically answer yes, because Messi exists. And that's understandable. Messi has destroyed tactical systems his entire career. He has embarrassed defenders who were supposedly impossible to beat. He has rewritten matches that looked completely under control. But this challenge feels different. Spain aren't planning to man-mark Messi. That may sound risky. I actually think it's the smarter decision. Following Messi everywhere creates gaps. Ignoring him creates freedom. Spain appeared determined to do neither. Instead, They seem ready to surround the spaces Messi wants to occupy before he even arrives. That's significantly harder. Rather than chasing the greatest player of his generation, they're attempting to remove the environment that allows him to become dangerous. It's a subtle difference, but subtle differences often decide World Cup finals. Still, here's where things become much more interesting. Messi understands positional football better than almost anyone alive. He spent years inside one of football's greatest possession systems. He knows exactly how these passing networks function because he helped perfect them. That creates an incredible tactical paradox. Spain may own the system. Messi understands its language. Could that become Argentina's biggest advantage? I wouldn't dismiss that possibility. One of the most intriguing discussions surrounding this final involves Messi potentially dropping much deeper than usual, not as a pure striker, not even as a traditional attacking midfielder, almost as another central playmaker. At first glance, that sounds counterintuitive. Why move your greatest goal threat farther away from goal? Because sometimes the shortest route to scoring begins much farther from the penalty area. If Messi drops into midfield, Rodri suddenly faces a completely different puzzle. Does he step forward? Does another midfielder engage? Does Spain's defensive block remain intact? Every answer creates a new question. And elite players thrive inside unanswered questions. This is where Argentina's supporting cast becomes absolutely critical. Enzo Fernandez isn't just responsible for passing accuracy. He's responsible for surviving pressure. Alexis Mac Allister isn't simply another midfielder. He's one of the few players capable of receiving under pressure, turning quickly, and immediately changing the direction of play. Rodrigo de Paul brings relentless energy, constantly disrupting rhythm while covering extraordinary ground. None of them need to outperform Rodri individually. They simply need to prevent him from controlling everyone else. That's a much more realistic objective. Here's something else I find fascinating. Football fans often become obsessed with formations. 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, 3-5-2. But formations only describe where players begin. They don't explain how matches are actually won. Spain constantly transforms shape during possession. Argentina do the same. Within seconds, identical formations become completely different football teams. That's why tactical diagrams rarely capture the real battle. Movement does. Timing does. Decision-making does. And that's where Rodri quietly separates himself. He almost never appears to panic. That composure spreads through the entire squad. One calm touch becomes two. Two become five. Suddenly, Spain have escaped pressure without anyone realizing how close danger actually was. Some call that intelligence. Others call it experience. I think it's something even rarer, emotional control. Because the fastest way to lose a World Cup final isn't tactical confusion, it's emotional impatience. Now let's introduce one controversial idea. I actually believe many people are exaggerating Spain's invincibility. Yes, they've conceded only once. Yes, they've controlled almost every match, but context matters. Tournament football changes dramatically once the final arrives. Previous opponents don't carry Messi. Previous opponents don't possess Argentina's championship experience. Previous opponents haven't repeatedly found ways to survive impossible situations over the past several years. Momentum doesn't always survive contact with history. Argentina have repeatedly demonstrated something statistics struggle to measure. They become more dangerous when matches become chaotic. Spain prefer order. Argentina often flourish inside disorder. That's a fascinating collision. Imagine Spain completing 20 uninterrupted passes. Most opponents become frustrated. Argentina might simply wait. One interception, one transition, one perfectly weighted through ball. Everything changes. That possibility alone prevents Spain from becoming reckless. And once Spain hesitate even slightly, their greatest strength begins losing sharpness. That's why patience may become Argentina's most valuable weapon. Not pressing endlessly, not chasing every pass, waiting, absorbing, choosing the exact moment to strike. We've seen versions of this strategy succeed before against possession-heavy sides, not because possession stopped working, because efficiency eventually outweighed volume. One chance can erase 100 beautiful passes. That's football's cruelest truth. Psychology may become just as important as tactics. Spain insists they won't react to provocations. Rodri himself has emphasized remaining emotionally disciplined, regardless of what happens around him. That's an important statement. World Cup finals aren't simply football matches. They're emotional pressure cookers. Every foul feels larger. Every missed chance grows heavier. Every controversial decision echoes louder. The team that stays mentally organized often survives moments that destroy technically superior opponents. That's another reason Rodri matters so much. His influence extends beyond passing. He stabilizes emotions. He slows panic. He restores order. Those qualities rarely appear on highlight compilations. Yet coaches value them almost more than goals. Here's another angle that deserves attention. Everyone expects Spain's midfield to dominate, but expectations themselves create pressure. When you're expected to control possession, every misplaced pass suddenly feels catastrophic. Argentina enter this final with something surprisingly valuable: flexibility. If they dominate possession, they'll accept it. If they defend deeply, they'll accept that too. If the game becomes physical, they can respond. If it becomes technical, they still have Messi. That adaptability might become the hidden variable no tactical board can fully predict. I also think fans are overlooking fatigue. Not physical fatigue alone. Mental fatigue. Spain's constant pressing demands extraordinary concentration. 1 second of hesitation opens passing lanes. One late recovery run changes defensive balance. Against ordinary opponents, perhaps those moments never arrive. Against Messi, they only need to happen once. One mistake, one opening, one magical touch. That's all it takes. Then again, perhaps that's exactly why Spain built this system the way they did. Not to stop Messi every second, simply to reduce those moments from 10 to 1. Because completely stopping greatness may be impossible. Limiting its opportunities might be enough. That's the beauty of this final. Neither philosophy is obviously superior. One trusts structure, the other trusts brilliance. One believes collective organization overcomes individual genius. The other believes extraordinary players eventually solve extraordinary problems. Both arguments carry convincing evidence. Both have survived the entire tournament. Both now collide on football's biggest stage. When the whistle blows, millions will watch the goals. I'll be watching the midfield, every duel, every passing angle, every movement around Rodri. Because if Spain control that area, Argentina may spend the night chasing shadows. But if Argentina somehow fracture that invisible structure, even for brief moments, the entire tactical masterpiece Spain spent years constructing could suddenly begin to unravel. So maybe the real mystery was never whether Messi can defeat Spain. Maybe the real question has always been something far more unsettling. Can anyone truly take control away from Rodri when the entire world is watching?
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the latest update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.